be part of the dudes.
Hi everybody, welcome to another ramble. My God, I have been so busy lately. So busy with moving. I know I've been talking about moving a lot recently, and that's because I'm in the process of moving. I'm moving not very far. I'm moving like maybe a mile away from where I live right now. Moving into a house as opposed to an apartment, which we're in right now. If you have a child, you probably know what it's like to live in an apartment with a family. You're like on top of each other all the time. So we're looking forward to moving into a house, but it's a busy time. We have a lot of stuff to move, and it's all coming together in the next 2 days. So this is like a pre-recorded ramble, and I normally don't do this. Usually I record them on the day and post them up, ready to go sort of thing. But because I'm not going to be here for the next 3 days, I thought I would do a ramble now, record it, and then put it up on Saturday. So today's probably Saturday, and you're probably listening to this. But for me, it is Wednesday. So Thursday and Friday are like big days. Thursday, we have to like finish up all of our packing. So like our apartment's just filled with boxes right now. My son's going crazy. He's really excited. He didn't really want to go to the new house at first, but he's looking forward to it now. He's sort of like come around to the idea. Because he's 3, he doesn't really overly understand what's going on. He thinks that the estate agent that showed us around the house actually owned the house and has now moved, which is kind of funny. I mean, the fact that he just put that together, put 2 and 2 together and came up with that is pretty funny in itself. But there's a lot of benefits of obviously moving into a big house. There's going to be a yard for him to play in and stuff. And he's just gotten into a school that's like really close by as well. So next year when he finally starts to go to school, we live nice and close to the school. So be able to like walk over there by himself, you know, because he's 4 at the time. And, you know, when you become 4, it's like a rite of passage. The first time you walk off to nursery school by yourself is like your journey to becoming a man. And of course, he has to start that journey early because kids grow up so fast nowadays with like technology and iPads and whatever. 4 years old now is, you know, the equivalent of like 18 years old when I was younger or whatever. So, it's just the way things go, but it's very exciting. But like I said, very busy. If you've ever been in the situation before where you've moved into any sort of place, you'll know that there's lots of stuff to consider. We did our whole thing in court and everything passed and it was great. I had to do my oath and stuff and it was fantastic. It all went very well. It was all very surreal, actually. The whole experience was just really weird, but worth doing. I mean, if you live in Jersey and you've never done it before, I hope one day that you'll get the chance to do it because it is pretty weird. The royal court's like, I guess, like an old building, and it's all nice and everything, and they have to wear like those wigs and stuff. Well, no, they don't actually strictly wear the wigs. I thought that they would wear like those weird white-haired, like curled up wigs or whatever, but nobody was. I was a little bit disappointed about that, but there you go. So in terms of YouTube stuff, I posted on Reddit. I mean, if you don't go on Reddit and you don't read the subreddit where I tend to post from time to time, YouTube stuff will be a little bit light. There won't be 2 videos up every day as there have been. Grim Fandango, Fallout, Hotline Miami 2, and City Skylines. There'll probably be one of each like today. Well, not today. Wednesday, I think there's 2 going up. Thursday, Friday, there's definitely only going to be 1 video on each day. And then you'll get this on Saturday, which you're listening to now. And then there won't be anything on Sunday. So maybe some time to catch up with other stuff. Videos have been a lot longer recently, which is good because of the games that I'm playing. I mean, I've just come away from worrying about stats and looking at stuff and trying to be efficient and stuff like that because I don't know if it actually gets you anywhere. I prefer this sort of like organic way of doing stuff where I just record videos for as long as I feel is needed to or until I just get tired. And then that's the video. And I'm not too worried about chopping it up into a million little bite-sized pieces or whatever. I'm just playing games and having fun. And people seem to be enjoying it. So that's really good. Things seem to be going very well. In my spare time, I've been playing a lot of City Skylines because it's fantastic. I've got like this... Everybody wants to see it. And maybe I'll do a video on it or whatever. I've got this city that I play like offline, if you like, that I don't record. And it's not as nice as Bagelsville and Donutsville, which I've sort of taken some time to make look nice and somewhat rural or whatever, even though there's like a highway going through the middle of them now and stuff like that. Things are about to sort of change in that respect, and we're going to make it downtown or whatever. The city that I work on in my spare time is a lot more, it's sort of like, it's starting to look a bit like LA, where there's just like tons and tons of massive like highway sort of intersection-y things with like all these like tentacle off ramps and on ramps going all over the place. It's a bit more grid-like or whatever. I'm having some problems with traffic, so I'm having to sort of like mess around with highways a lot, which I love doing because you'll probably see if you visit the City Skylines subreddit, there's always people posting like animated GIFs of like these interchanges and stuff with the traffic flowing through them and people saying, oh, I could just stare at this forever. And I'm one of those people. I sometimes just lose like 10 or 15 minutes just by sitting there staring at an interchange where the traffic is just flowing through it beautifully and never stopping. It's amazing. It's just such a good point to get to in that game as well. And there's problems with the traffic AI. Like, for instance, it would be nice if you could make streets that had like no right turns on them or no left turns or whatever. It'd be cool if you could like implement a policy where you could turn right on a red, like you can in parts of America and Canada as well and stuff. But, you know, I'm sure even if the devs don't do that themselves, the modding community will probably come up with something, because already the modding community is like doing great stuff. I mean, if you ever get a chance to go through the Steam workshop for City Skylines, if you're playing the game, totally worth it. There's some really good stuff. People are adding skyscrapers. There's even one of the guys that designed buildings for the for SimCity, the most recent SimCity that came out, which, you know, a lot of people say was trash or whatever, and rightly so. I mean, there's parts of it that were broken or whatever. It's not to say that it's a terrible game, because it's not actually a terrible game. It's definitely playable. It's just limited, and I think what a lot of people wanted was it to be more open. SimCity 4 was moddable to begin with. It had the regions so that you can make these massive, massive cities using the region stuff or whatever. And I think there was disappointment at a couple of those things. But anyway, one of the artists from SimCity, and it's a beautiful game, he is sort of now making buildings and stuff, mods for City Skylines, which is incredible. And he's made like a coal power plant, which looks really cool. He made like some burger joint, which looks awesome. Somebody on the SIP subreddit made a donut store with like my face on it and stuff, which looked amazing. So it's all coming together. The modding community is really sprouting up and starting to do stuff, and it's fantastic. That's exactly what you want with this kind of game. I'm sure that the developers of City Skylines are just like going crazy now, because it's so awesome when people all together put their minds to something and do stuff. Like, they're improving some of the road tools. They've made brushes for trees so that you don't have to individually plop them down and stuff. There's all sorts of amazing stuff coming out of it, and it's really exciting. It's so good. So my time is split between that, and I still play Diablo 3 in my spare time too. Like, I don't play it hardcore. Like, you know, like sometimes I watch people streaming it just because I like to see like other builds, and I like the whole sort of metagame now with greater rifts and progression and sort of like the leaderboards and stuff. I really like all that. So I tend to somewhat follow it on stream and everything, but these guys are playing for hours and hours and hours a day. Like some guys are playing like 12 hours a day or whatever. I could never do that. I'm good. I enjoyed Diablo 3. I really enjoyed Diablo 3. Especially now that it's been changed in Reaper Souls and whatever and going forward. But I play for like 2 hours and that's enough. City Skylines, I can sit there and play for hours and hours and hours and just lose track of time. But Diablo, because you're just sort of doing the same thing over and over, it's really grindy because you're just trying to get gear and, best in slot items for builds and stuff like that. And you're just pushing it so that you can get these higher, greater rifts and get onto the leaderboards. I mean, I'm nowhere on the leaderboards. I think the highest greater rift I've ever done is like 35, possibly. If you know anything about Diablo 3, they say that greater rift rank 25 is the equivalent of Torment 6. So 35 is like, 10 times Torment 6 or at least 10 levels higher than. I don't know if it's like exactly 10 times or whatever. But it's pretty hard. You get to the point with greater rifts where you just can't be near any packs of mobs whatsoever. Because if they even breathe on you, you die straight away because they're so powerful or whatever. but it's awesome. So I do that. And recently also I've started watching, which is just one of these shows that slipped me by. I don't know, I don't know if it's a combination of already having like a fairly sort of time-consuming hobby in playing games, PC games or whatever, and just sort of like being a dad as well. You may notice this if you have kids at some point in your life, or if you already have them. You have far less time to watch movies. you never watch movies, basically. The only time I ever watch movies now is if I'm on a flight. So like when we went to LA, 10-hour flight, I watched like fucking 5 movies. It was amazing. And on the way back too. Or I caught up with TV shows. Like I watched the entire first season of Fargo, that the Netflix thing, Fargo, with what's his face from the Hobbit guy and Billy Bob Thornton. Did you see that? It's really good anyway. It's really good. And the whole story wraps up in the first season, which is kind of cool too. So I don't know what they're going to do for season 2. Maybe they'll like invent some other story or something. I mean, Dexter was a bit like that too. Apparently like the first season was based on the book. And then there were other books after that. But like after the first season of Dexter, the writers of Dexter just went off and just sort of did their own thing and loosely based them on the series of books. But apparently the first season was based on like the first book or something. I might be wrong about that. But anyway, so like Fargo was set or based off some real stuff that happened in Fargo or whatever. But anyway, the series is really good. But coming back to what I was saying, not having time to watch TV shows, not having time to watch movies. One show that totally slipped me by, and there's no reason why it would have, because it came out like years ago. I just never bothered to watch it, even though people kept telling me to watch it, was It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. For some reason, it just completely passed me by. Like I just didn't really bother watching it or get into it. I mean, I'm big into like sort of serial dramas that are on like AMC and HBO and stuff like that. Like I watched The Walking Dead and like Boardwalk Empire and all these like great sort of long serial dramas that I love and stuff. But like sort of like sitcoms and series like that. I think the last sitcom I watched to death was probably Seinfeld. And then after that, well, Curb Your Enthusiasm, but it wasn't like on network TV. It was sort of like on cable TV or whatever. But I haven't like followed anything like The Big Bang Theory or like any of these like sort of sitcom-y shows. Like I just stopped watching them at some point in my life or whatever. But I started recently watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and it's great. It's so fucking funny. It is really, really, really funny. It's really cleverly written, and it's just hilarious. The actors in it are all amazing. The situations are super funny. It was weird. The first episode I watched, I wasn't like totally sold on it. And it's like that with a lot of shows, isn't it? You watch like one episode of something and you think, I don't know, maybe this isn't for me or whatever. I was like that with Father Ted. Like if you've ever heard of Father Ted, it's like a British show, British sitcom comedy show from, I guess, the 90s, early 90s. And the first time somebody described Father Ted to me, it was like, what? Priests that live on an island? That sounds stupid. I don't want to watch that. Like that doesn't even sound remotely funny. And I think it was like on like a top 10 thing or whatever, like top 10 comedy moments of the year or something like that. They had an entry for Father Ted. And it was that scene in Father Ted where Dougal and Father Ted are in the caravan and they've gone on holiday in this caravan. And they're going crazy because there's nothing to do there. It's like, it was just like the worst fucking vacation of all time. They're sitting in this caravan. They have nothing to do. And Dougal can't get his head around the fact that he can see cows out the window in the distance, and he thinks that they're just small cows, and Father Ted is trying to explain to him that they're just far away and that they're not small, and he's doing it like he's speaking to like a 3-year-old, but Dougal's like a fully grown man. And I just the scene was just so fucking funny. And I thought, oh, maybe like I just was too harsh on the idea of the show or whatever. Maybe I should like go back and watch it. And I never looked back. I bought like all the box sets for all the seasons. I loved like every episode. They're so funny. There's so many like amazing characters in it. It's so well written and everything. If you're not into Father Ted, or if like passed you by or whatever, you're looking for something funny to watch, holy shit, watch Father Ted. So good. Even if you're not British, get it. It's just so fucking funny. It's really good. But anyway, back to Always Sunny in Philadelphia. The clicking moment for me in that show, I think, was, and I mean, I watched the first episode, didn't quite click, but I found it funny enough. I like the characters and I like the sort of style and everything. But it wasn't like one of those things where, for me, when something clicks, I'll go off and I'll find out more about it. So like, I can watch a show, and if I'm not like really interested in it, or if I don't plan on following it or whatever, I'll never look into it, sort of thing. Like I'll watch a couple of episodes and then I'll just like fizzle out, and I won't bother. I was watching Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and it was the episode. It's probably kind of controversial, but it's the episode where they decide that they'd probably have a better chance of picking up girls at the mall or impressing people if they had wheelchairs or if they were somehow disabled. And Dee thinks that it's like the worst idea ever, and that how could you ever do that? Like you're some sort of Satan for doing it. And then she does it herself, and it's really fucking funny and everything. And just the way the characters interact together, the way that they're all sort of like scumbags in their own right, and they just like think of all this like dumb shit to do and stuff. And for me, that episode was the click. And then last night I watched the $100 Baby, the underground Fight Club one, where Dee and where they're trying to train Charlie to become the ultimate underground fighter or whatever. So basically, he can take a beating so that the other guys can bet on him and win money or whatever. And then Dee and her dad are training to become boxers, and she starts like taking these steroids and everything, going all crazy and stuff. It's so fucking funny, and it's so well written, everything as well. It's just so funny. So after I watched, not the $100 Baby one, but after I watched the one with the wheelchairs and stuff, I actually like did some looking into it to find out like who the actors were for the characters and stuff like that. And now I'm just sold. Apparently, like it gets even funnier, which is not something oftentimes that sitcoms do. Usually they sort of like start off pretty funny, they peak about halfway through, and then they just sort of like fizzle out or whatever. I don't remember Seinfeld ever being like that. Seinfeld was pretty consistently funny all the way to the end. And then the last episode of Seinfeld was amazing because they end up going to court for like some really sort of like stupid, obscure reason. They all have to sit in court. And then basically they have character witnesses testify against them. And it's all the people in the entire show that they'd ever screwed over. So it's like sort of like a look back at like the whole series, and like a look back at all the characters, like, and all these people that hate them for like the times that they screwed them over somehow, or like testifying against them and stuff, is amazing. It was just so clever. It was just so well done. I just love Seinfeld to death. But Always Sunny with Philadelphia, I plan to watch all the way through and enjoy as well. I think it's going to be really good. I read a couple of, well, maybe not spoilers, but some of the later seasons, like I think one of the characters like puts on a lot of extra weight, like on purpose for something to do, like some sort of theme of the season or whatever. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I'm not sure what season it is, but I'm like excited to see how they pull that off. And then just in general to see sort of how the new episodes, or well, the later episodes. I don't even know if they're still making the show actually, because it's kind of old. I think the first season came out in like 2005, which is a long enough time ago now. Jesus Christ. It doesn't seem like it's that long ago, but Christ, it is a little bit of a long time ago. Crazy. So yeah, my spare time is sort of like split between those three things now. I don't know what do you guys do like in the evenings and stuff? I mean, I come in here every day and I record video games for a living. And then I go home and play more video games. It seems like an excessive amount of video gaming. And for the amount of time that I actually spend playing video games, I should, by all rights, be a lot better at playing games. I'm not really. I don't know how that works. Maybe it's just because like I'm a bit older or something, and like my reflexes aren't as fast or something. But I feel like I should be better. Like I'm playing Hotline Miami 2 now, and I'm passing the levels, and I think that I'm doing okay. And then I get graded like D- and like D+ pretty consistently at this point. And I don't know how to get any better. And I mean, I've seen people do like speed runs of the first game, and it's amazing. It's just really something else to watch. Actually, I watched somebody do a speed run very briefly. I think I didn't watch the whole thing. I just wanted to see how the speed run worked against like the first boss that you come up against in Dark Souls 2. And I can't really remember because I didn't play much of Dark Souls 2. I actually bought it because a lot of people were like saying that was amazing and that you should try it and stuff like that. So I bought it. I played it a bit. I got my ass handed to me far too many times. I got so frustrated that I couldn't carry on. But basically, like, the way that I went, I think that there's two ways that you can go in Dark Souls 2. So the way that I went was like, God, it's hard to explain. It was like, it's all these like really narrow, high sort of like paths and like columns, and then there's these big green giant things that you had to like kill, and then you basically get up to like this like weird sort of like circular podium bit, and there's a whole bunch of these green giants or whatever, and then just further beyond that, there's this boss, which I'm assuming is like the first boss, and he's just on this sort of like little round bit that apparently you just get knocked off of all the time if you're not careful, or you accidentally run off it or whatever. So I'm watching this guy do a speed run of it because I wanted to see it, because I never got to the boss myself because it was just like too hard and I got too frustrated. So I wanted to see like at least what the first boss looked like. So I thought I'll watch a speed run so that I don't have to watch somebody like, fumble through it like I was and get all frustrated and everything. Because by that point, I'd just gotten killed so many times that I just could not be bothered, sort of thing. So I watched this guy speed run. He gets up to the first boss. He runs like along the ledge of the little thing that leads to the circular bit. And then the boss like sort of charges him and just falls over, and it's done in like 1 second. Like the first boss is just dead in 1 second, or he just like manages to run by him. I just thought that was the funniest shit ever. And I didn't even really get a proper chance to see the first boss because he died so quickly. I didn't see like any of his like weird sequences or mechanics or anything. Man, talking about it now, I should really play Dark Souls 2. I should probably try to like get better at it and get into it, because people still rave on about it, saying that it's amazing and stuff. It's like super unforgiving, and it's like it's very difficult by design, and you have to like maybe a bit like Hotline Miami, really. It's a little bit of a different gameplay style or whatever, but Hotline Miami is the same. You just keep trying the same things over and over and over until finally you get through. But you get like a little bit better along the way. Like you get better at like shift looking and locking onto stuff and things like that. And although you don't necessarily do that in Dark Souls 2, I suppose it's the same. The more that you play a game, the better you get at it. So I mean, with most games and the mechanics in games, it is just a case of that, isn't it? It's a case of playing and playing and playing and playing and playing, and you just naturally become more aware and better at things like GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64. My God, I think GoldenEye on the Nintendo 64 is the game I've played the most in my entire life. Like when it came out and we got it for the Nintendo 64, I had a younger brother. We used to just play it all day, every day. Like if we were off school, all we would do is play GoldenEye. We'd have like, because you could play 4 players too. So oftentimes, like if we were off school or if there was a break or whatever, my friends would come over, and all 4 of us would just sit there quite happily playing GoldenEye. And we got to the point where we even turned off like aiming cursors and everything, because it was just so easy to get headshots. Like we could line up the guns at head level and like strafe around a corner. I expect someone to be there and just like preemptively shoot and get kills and stuff like that. Like it was crazy. It was really fun to play and stuff. It was really exciting. We had like this underground like GoldenEye sort of like tournament scene going like between my friends and everything. We'd go to like birthday parties and sleep over at people's houses and stay up all night and play GoldenEye. Like, it was crazy. It was just such a great game when it came out. I don't even know like what it would be like to play now, actually. Like, has it aged well at all, or is it just like a completely unplayable piece of shit at this point? Because what was that other game that came out after? GoldenEye came out, and then the same studio released, was that like Perfect Dark or something? And Perfect Dark had like X-ray guns and stuff, but it was very similar in the way that it played, like to GoldenEye. Same sort of like controls and that same sort of level of polish and everything that made GoldenEye so good. But it had like all these weird like advanced guns and stuff. And I think like when Perfect Dark came out, I was kind of done. Like I didn't play as much Nintendo then, because I was getting like a little bit older or whatever, and I was just like doing other shit, and I just didn't like spend as much time playing games. But my brother used to play the shit out of Perfect Dark. Is it Perfect Dark? I can't even remember. I might be remembering the name wrong. But anyway, I remember my brother playing the shit out of it, and all those old WCW wrestling games that came out. You know, the really good ones that came out for the Nintendo 64? He used to play the shit out of those as well. Because it was like, he was 6 years younger than me. So like, he sort of went through the phase of playing like copious amounts of Nintendo. starting when I was sort of getting out of the phase of playing lots of console games and stuff, because I was like sort of like mid to late teens at that point. So I wasn't like I think I had a job at the time. Like I just started a part-time job and doing like fucking schoolwork and all this other shit that I didn't really want to do just meant that there was just less time, and having like a extravagant teenage social life as well, which consisted of just like talking to people on the phone for hours at a time and not playing a console at the same time. Looking back now, I could have been like super efficient and I could have just played the console a lot whilst on the phone. But back then you had to like sort of do that thing where you had to crick your neck and hold the phone between your shoulder and your head. Like they didn't have headsets back then. Or maybe they did, but they were just like obscure and expensive or whatever. I mean, nowadays, everybody's just got like headphones and like a mic coming out the side of your headphones. Yeah, I mean, you see people walking down the street just like with the little headphones and mics, and sometimes they look like they're talking to themselves, but there's like a little mic attached to the headphones, so that they're just like on the phone and it looks like they're talking to themselves or whatever. But I didn't have any of that back then. If we were playing like GoldenEye or something like that, there's no way you could talk on the phone at the same time. It would severely impair your ability to excel at the game because of the whole neck cricking, holding the phone between your shoulder and your neck or whatever. I mean, it wasn't so much of a problem. In saying that as well, I used to play a lot of Counter-Strike. So this is like when I started college. I used to play a lot of Counter-Strike, like 1.6 and the previous versions of Counter-Strike. Back when, Counter-Strike wasn't in Source. It was just like the original mod, Half-Life mod Counter-Source. It was pretty fun. I mean, we used to play the shit out of it, but there was no voice over IP back then, or nothing that was like extensively used by lots of people sort of thing. There's certainly no like gaming headsets or anything back then. Not that I remembered anyway, or they were just too expensive to buy. Nobody I knew had them anyway. So quite often it would be 3 a.m. or whatever. We would be up, joining servers to play Counter-Strike, and we would try to talk on the phone at the same time. So what we would do is we had like cordless phones, like cordless house phones. If you got like a sweatband, you could like sort of hold it in place next to your head with a sweatband on. And that was like a thing. Like you could talk to your friend on the phone and sort of say like, oh, he's at the B bomb site, let's go over there. And this was like next level shit back then, because like the coordination and everything, we were just like rinsing people on servers because we actually were able to, we weren't in the same room or whatever. And sometimes, if you went to a LAN party or whatever and you didn't want to just play LAN games, you wanted to like play internet games. Even then, that wasn't too common back then. This was like the alternative, the sweatband cordless phone combo attached to your head to to coordinate your maneuvers in Counter-Strike. It's very serious business, and it paid off too, because like I said, we were the toast of, well, I would say the town, but actually we were probably not even the toast of the 32-player server we were playing on, because nobody really cared, because it was Counter-Strike back then, there's no like unlocks or boxes or crates or anything to open to unlock stuff or anything like that. You just jumped into a server, played until you got sick of it, and that was it. There's nothing to track your kills or progress or anything like that. That kind of stuff is all sort of new for games. Like it's all sort of come about, I guess, through Call of Duty, even though like the original Call of Duties didn't have that. It's like all the Advanced Warfare stuff or whatever. It's basically when they started like really pumping them out on consoles and stuff. I guess that's when all that kind of like unlock stuff came about, Battlefield and stuff like that. I guess first-person shooters, that's what they're all about now. You have like this big arcing sort of like, you keep playing and you keep getting points and leveling up, and eventually you will get to unlock like a sniper rifle and stuff like that. And it's cool, actually. It's a pretty cool system. I like all that, but you didn't have any of that in the original Counter-Strike. I don't know if that was a good or a bad thing. At the time, we didn't know any better, so we didn't really give much of a crap, but it was still fun anyway. Great. All right. Well, I will end on a high note before I get into nostalgia. Oh, God, I always do this, don't I? I always start talking about things that I get really nostalgic about, and then I can never shut up about it. I don't even remember what I've talked about here. It truly was a ramble. I remember nothing. I think I was talking about things that I do like in the evening from time to time, or currently. Yeah, and TV shows too. Oh shit, yeah, I did talk a lot about TV shows this time too. Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Great. All right. Well, apologies once again for the light sort of YouTube content for this week. It's just the way that it has to be, unfortunately. So much packing and moving and settling in and stuff to do, which has to take priority. But next week, I'm hoping to be back in full swing, in a better routine where I can get back to getting at least 2 episodes of a series out a day sort of thing. And Monday to Friday, and then on weekends, sort of like evening with sips and multiplayer stuff that I have sort of like pre-recorded or whatever that I can put out. And that seems to be working well so far. People seem to be quite happy. It's been great. It's been really good. I'm really happy with everything, with the way everything's going on the YouTube front. And I'm also very happy about moving as well. I'm really looking forward to it. We have like a garage at our new house, which is amazing. We have a driveway as well, which I've never had before in my life. But the garage is like, hasn't been touched since like the 1970s. It's amazing. Like, you know, garage doors, how they open from the bottom up. This one like slides along a rail to the side. It's incredible. And it's got like a little door that you can just like open separately with a latch on it and stuff. I want to like preserve it and keep it forever. It's like it's like the kind of thing you would store like a train locomotive in or something. Like, it's so old. It's hilarious. It's so cool. It's really good. Maybe I'll take a picture or something and show you. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Well, as usual, thanks very much for listening. I hope you're enjoying your day or your week or whatever it is you're doing. If you're sitting in a car right now and you're sitting like in rush hour traffic or whatever, I hate to say it, but if you spend more than like 2 hours a day commuting somewhere, it's like 9 weeks a year of your life just like sitting around, probably listening to me talk about fucking bullshit. You got to think about that. But at the same time, if you have to do it, I mean, it's a good thing we live in the day and age we do, right? With like podcasts and Spotify and on demand, right? Like you can listen to just all the Guns N' Roses you want to. You don't even need a radio station for that anymore. You know, thanks to like 3G and 4G and all the Gs and everything else. Fucking great, eh? All right. Well, gosh, how many times have I tried to say goodbye now? Probably too many. I will say goodbye for sure this time. Thanks very much for listening. I will be back next week in full swing. There'll be more rambles. They'll keep coming. I'll keep uploading them and stuff so that they can be downloaded. People seem to really like them, and I enjoy doing them as well. So that's always a good thing. Great. Well, I will see you soon.
I want to be part of the stunt crew. I want to be part of the dudes. I want to be part of the stunt crew. I want to be part of the dudes. I want to be part of the stunt crew. I want to be part of the dudes.